we believe that being a defender requires more than building shooting skills on a range. It's also a development of the heart, mind, body, and spirit. Join us as we explore what it truly means to be a defender in your training and in your everyday life. Welcome to Defenders Live. Hey, all you beautiful people out there. Welcome to Defenders Live. I am your host, Laura Thorson, and I'm excited to be with you again on a Wednesday evening. Thank you all for tuning in again. I have a special treat for you. If you're new or watching this as a replay, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. And as always, please drop in the comments where you're watching from. I see Haven Defense Company is already shouting out in the comments. Really appreciate you guys. And please feel free to comment throughout the broadcast as well. Tonight, for the first time ever, we have a couple on the show, JT and Tonya Grover with Rev-Tac firearm instruction. JT and Tonya are a husband and wife team from Nebraska, and they are doing really great work out there, not only as instructors, but they also have a program helping veterans called Contact Front, which we'll hear about later in the show. Tonight, I'm going to talk to them about their everyday lives and some valuable lessons that I hope will help you as well. They're a really fun couple. I really enjoyed this interview and looking forward to showing it to you. You can expect a lot of honesty and a lot of humor with JT and Tonya. So I'm really glad you're tuned in tonight. They're a great couple and a great combination of those things. A couple things before we get to the interview. If you don't want to miss out on any upcoming shows, the best way to stay up to date on getting notified about those is to go to defenders-live.com. And on the bottom of the homepage, you can sign up for those email notifications. The reach on the Facebook group is minimal at best. So if you want to make sure you stay in the know, go to defenders-live.com for those notifications. Let's see. Oh, hey, Neil. I'm glad that you're on tonight. I see Heather's out there. Shout out to Kathy and Lynn in Michigan. And I see Haven Defense Company. I think you commented before I was even technically live. I didn't know you could do that. But thank you guys for watching. And whoever's new, please shout out in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. I do have a quick tidbit of the week this week, and I'm not sure exactly what to call it. And it doesn't really need a name. I can give it one after the fact if I decide to post it independently. And it's just something that was on my heart and my mind today. So I thought I'd share it with you. So maybe you can get some value out of it. Maybe it'll help you in your life. But it's about time. And today I realized how incredibly blessed I am to have some really amazing mentors in my life. And this has just happened over the last, couple years, probably year and a half, around the time I started the show, I think. And each person that I have in my life as a mentor is very different, but each provides valuable insight into my businesses, into my life, and really helps me out in a lot of different areas. And I just want to encourage you guys to really think about pursuing a mentor in your life. If you're serious about personal growth, I really think that you should consider having at least one mentor, possibly more, in more than one area, maybe in your life. So many times I've been in the weeds with my business or my show, and these people have helped me to see the bigger picture. And that's really helpful to provide direction when we get stuck. And so if you're serious, again, I highly recommend finding a mentor that you look up to, somebody that you can trust, and mostly somebody that's really going to be brutally honest with you, because you can't grow unless someone is really honest with you. And you have to be able to take that criticism too. So aside from that, though, one thing that I was discussing with a mentor today was wise use of time. And I know this is a subject that has been talked about a lot, but I have a little bit different take on it. How many of you out there feel as though time is fleeting and never feels like there's enough time in the day, right? One of my good friends years ago used to talk about the tyranny of the urgent, meaning that every day she just felt like she was putting out one fire after another. And I know so many busy people with busy lives feel like this in their day-to-day. And in short, this is really just an example of your day running you instead of you running your day. And that's how I used to live my life years ago. And sometimes I'm still guilty of it. But I learned a valuable lesson about time through that experience. And I'm sure you've heard that we all have the same amount of time in the day. And what's most important is how you use that time. Well, that's absolutely true. But I would like to go a step further and ask you what my mentor asked me today. The question is, what is the return on your investment of that time that you are spending? And I don't mean necessarily a financial return. Personally, when you're spending time with those that you love, the question is, are you really there? Are you really investing time into them that is quality, and are you being present? Make sure that the fleeting time that you have is spent being present in those moments, not just going through the motions. It's so easy when we get busy in life to do that, to just go through the motions. And it's so much more valuable to slow down and really take the time to appreciate and be grateful for those special times we have. Or when you're in that meeting, don't schedule it at all if you don't think that you can be all there and give the best of yourself during that meeting, whatever it is. Maybe it's a personal meeting with somebody, you're going out to coffee or lunch or something. Make sure that you can invest that time into others and that you can pour into others. That's so important. Many times I think, again, we're just going through the motions of that. Sometimes, and I'm gonna give you some of my like private life hacks here, but sometimes I even schedule calls with people, personal calls. I'll schedule with people that I want to make sure I have no distractions and that I can be all there to listen to them. That's really important. And mostly out of respect for the person that's in the room with me or the person on the other end of the phone call. There's nothing more annoying than being on a phone call with someone and you can just tell that they're not even listening to what you're saying because they're not fully there. They're not present because they're so distracted by everything else in life. And there's no way to completely take those out, but I'm just trying to help guide you and help you with things that have been helpful to me. And another thing I used to do all the time was I used to just pick up the phone literally every time it rang. If somebody called me, text me, whatever it was, I would just take my attention away from whatever I was doing and I would go right to the phone call or right to the text. And I learned very quickly that is not a good use of my time because what it does is it fragments my day. And then again, we're rolling back into your day running you rather than you running your day, right? And into that tyranny of the urgent putting out fires. Again, I know some of this can't be avoided, but where it can be avoided, it should, because your time is valuable. So now I have a favorite button on my phone. You guys probably all know about this, but I just discovered it probably 6 months ago. It's called Do Not Disturb. And if I'm working out or if I'm in a meeting that's really important, I don't want to be distracted or interrupted, I set it to that Do Not Disturb. And it's a glorious feature. You should try it on your phone. And so then when I'm mentally ready to go back into the texts and the phone calls and the emails, I can turn it back on. But that has really helped me to stay on track. So whatever your goals are, personally or professionally, ask yourself, is the effort you are spending on a task a good choice for your return on its investment, whatever the return is towards getting closer to your goal? Think about your goals and ask yourself, why am I really doing this? Asking yourself why is really important. And having accountability is very important too. Is what you're doing moving the needle, or are you just spinning your wheels and giving yourself the illusion that you're accomplishing something by staying busy, quote unquote busy, right? We're all busy, right? And we're all guilty of wasting time on our phones when we shouldn't be. We're all guilty of doing things that we enjoy rather than doing the things that we know we should do. And procrastination is a real thing for those things that we don't like doing so much. So my challenge to you is just to take stock of how you really spend your time in a day and ask yourself, am I running my day or is my day running me? Am I able to show up and serve others in a way that I feel good about, that really helps people and gives the best version of me? or do I need to change something? And so those are questions that I ask myself and audit myself on every now and again. And I think it's just good to do. Remember, we all have a finite amount of time on this earth, and what we do with that time really does matter. So please make the most of it. And I hope this helps you tonight. It's just food for thought on a Wednesday, a random tidbit of the week. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think about that. I see a bunch more people have chimed in. We're going to get to the interview here in just a second. I just want to shout out Harriet from Georgia is here. Harriet Prescott is here. And Ruth, it looks like, oh, date night for Ruth and Prescott. Really? Wow. I feel honored. I see Adam is tuning in. Adam's not behind the scenes tonight. I'm running the show by myself tonight. Joy from Florida is here. Rado, hey, shout out to you. And Kathy is in the house as well. I don't know where Kathy is or is from, but anyway, glad you guys are all here and all tuned in. So let's get settled in, get your popcorn ready, Ruth and Prescott, for date night. And we'll tune in to JT and Tonya Grover of Rev-Tac. JT Grover of Rev-Tac started Rev-Tac in 2010 as a part-time passion for preparing both the public and his peers for surviving critical incidences. Oh no, this is live too. His 20 plus year service to this country has provided real world experience that translate into success on life's battlefields. As a successful career sniper, JT is currently leading multiple sniper teams for an airborne infantry unit. He has been his snipers team's lead medic for many years, as well as a paid city firefighter and medic for 11 years. JT has multiple deployments in support of the global war on terror, as well as supporting continental U.S. missions from floods to riots. He dabbled in law enforcement for a few years before realizing that wasn't the direction he wanted to go, but remains passionate about preparing this country's law enforcement for success under extreme pressure. His dedication to his craft led him to instruct at one of the U.S. Army's premier sniper schools for a few years before taking Rev-Tac full-time in 2015. He loves teaching long-range precision, carbine, and defensive pistol. Tonya currently works in federal law enforcement and spends her off time teaching at Rev-Tac. She has worked in juvenile detention, adult prisons, and adult probation. She has studied firearms, verbal judo, and has been training in firearms for many years. Tonya is a USCCA and NRA certified instructor, but is their expert in de-escalation courses and personal defense courses for women. And we'll tune in to JT and Tonya Grover of Rev-Tac, and I'll see you on the other side. I'm a little bit interested in, and this might be too personal. If it is, you'll tell me. You guys share a lot of your life on social media, and you're not scared to do it. Some of it is inappropriately funny, because that's just kind of how you guys roll. And that's what I love about your content, is it's just you guys. It's just how you are. And I think that's what people find so refreshing about, the Defenders Uncensored episodes that JT's on, is like, there's no filter. I mean, there probably is a filter. I'm just not aware of it. But it's pretty authentic. And that's what I can appreciate about you guys. So in relation to especially your career, Tonya, it's not Ton, it's Tonya. I'm not going to call her Ton.
Anyone can call her Ton.
Most range people call me Ton, so.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But if you're mad at her, just keep calling her Tonya.
All right. But as it relates to your career and like your everyday life, would you say you guys lead a little bit different of an everyday life than most Joe Janes out there? And is that just something I'm making up in my head? Your job is not typical. Like, you don't work at a grocery store or a bakery or something. Mm-hmm. You're putting on a gun every day, I assume, and going and doing things that most people don't do. So do you have like any insight as to how that's different than most people, or how it's the same perhaps?
I think it's a lot different. And we my professional job, I like to maintain some sort of level of privacy. However, with the range job, it's like like you said, people appreciate that. So it's kind of like teetering on this fine line. The two kind of coincide together because I feel like in our Siouxland area, we're pretty well known. So like out in public, you know, with my professional job and the range job, I have to, you know, maintain a level of professionalism. You know, I can't be like a Karen at a grocery store. You know what I mean? So,
right.
But we've talked about it a lot, like with my job in law enforcement, you know, we feel like we're really well trained in a lot of things that if somewhere were to find out where we lived, then we're going to figure that out. However.
Yeah, that's a real thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But there are some things that we do as far as the cautionary, you know, we're not, I think we're taking a slight gamble because most of the people who would follow our page are not felons. You know what I mean? And so we see a distinct type of person that follows our stuff. So it's not like, I mean, sure, could they try to find, you know, but we go by synonyms. What's the word? We, you know, Ton is aliases, I guess. Yeah. You know, JT is not my normal name. And so if somebody decides that that's, you know, to look for that, then that's kind of a little bit of a harder thing to do. And then the same thing, you know, she misspells her name on social media and everything so that people kind of get, sidetracked a little bit. But you know, the stuff that we put out, the content that we put out is pretty real, and that's every day. If we just, you know, if no cameras were running, the same things still happen around here, unfortunately. And I mean, it's fun. Every day is fun.
We don't want to be fake in any realm, so just like this, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think people can pick up on that.
Yeah, we have had we've had billboards up and like signs that I've been on, and I did have an offender once say, I really think, Miss Tonya, I saw you on a billboard today.
And she was like, no, that wasn't me.
No, I'm not on a billboard.
Not on a billboard. You know, all her tabs. It's so funny. But we took those billboards down.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. And then,
go ahead.
Yeah. No, I don't.
Well, I'm curious what drew you to that type of career. How did you end up here?
So my dad is a police officer, and I thought I wanted to go that route. But after just a few ride-alongs, I realized I didn't want to get spit on every day. So I was like, maybe that's...
Wow.
So I tried juvenile detention.
Got spit on every day.
Did get spit on every day there. So left that. Did the men's prison, which actually was great. The inmates were extremely respectful. They kind of like look after people that treat them well. I mean, if you're like not being rude to inmates, they really are not rude to you. But my hours there were terrible. So I met a federal probation officer. She came into the prison to do a reach-in visit, and I thought, man, she's really cool. So that's how I got into that.
What do you hear?
Oh, he's singing.
Bear singing.
You can tell if he was crying or singing.
Oh, that's funny. So everything's okay then.
Yeah, everything's fine. It just normally he doesn't. So it was a little like, that guy's got to be crying, but he's just happy. He's singing.
Just happy. That's good. Awesome. So so that makes sense then. If you came from a law enforcement family, like you grew up around that, so that would make sense. That would be a natural thing that you would gravitate toward. Was there anything about you growing up in a law enforcement family that helped prepare you for what you do now, do you think?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, we grew up like we'd go into restaurants and my dad would quiz my sister and me, and he would say, all right, without looking, how many exits are in here? And, you know, which one's your closest one? He would quiz us. He would say, like, when we were little, we'd go into a restaurant. He'd be like, okay, girls, without looking, how many exits are in this?
Oh, exits. Building? Okay.
Or he'd quiz us, like, when we're driving, be like, okay, don't look in your rearview mirror, but what color is the vehicle behind you? So, like, my situational awareness was always like, I'm always just waiting for my dad to quiz me. So I feel like
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Then could you, JT, briefly like fill us in on your background a little bit? You've got quite an expansive background too in the military. Is that correct?
Yeah.
As a sniper?
Yeah, as a sniper. I guess that's my claim to fame. I guess the way I didn't start that route. I started actually as a firefighter and a medic. And then I ended up realizing that I could do preventative medicine, is what I was calling it. I realized that I could stop bad things from happening to people instead of just putting, tourniquets and pressure dressings on. I could actually stop the incident from happening. And so that
What do you
is,
mean by that? Through
I
training?
meant, I meant changing jobs and saving lives by before the IED is placed. I can, do something else. So left of bang was kind of my thing, is like, hey, what can I do? Instead of being the after, deal with the aftermath of this, how can I help these guys not have this happen? And so that was kind of my push into changing jobs and trying to just do more, find it. And it's weird. I fit in amazingly, swimmingly, I think. I just like, you're just hanging out with a team of dudes that are just borderline felons,
They could go either way.
I don't know how to describe it, but they're guys who, man, you could just, go to war with.
Yeah, they can't fit in a box.
They don't fit in a normal box, and so we're really, and I still do that. I still run teams for the Army, and so I'm thankful for that. And so I still get to play cool guy every once in a while,
But that's what I love about you, is that you have an incredible sense of humor, but there's a level of seriousness to both of you at the same time. And I found that in really dangerous people, honestly, because isn't it true that you have to have a sense of humor, right? With the kind of stuff that you've seen and gone through?
I think you can choose either to really let it weigh you down, or you can laugh about this life. And I think it's more fun to just laugh about it. And one of the things that, my guys, we always, when we're just in the worst situation, when it is just terrible, and, you're just whatever the situation is, and it just seems really bad. It's one of the greatest times to just look at each other and laugh and be like, how did we get here? And
right.
I think Dawn in her job, if she didn't laugh, she would get eaten up pretty quick with it.
Yeah, I imagine you need a pretty tough skin for that.
Yeah, just letting it kind of roll off.
Yeah, I think that's more about what it is just not taking anything personally, which is actually kind of hard for me, because I take criticism from our business side of things personally, and it'll eat me. We can have 1,000 great reviews, and that one review that says like, you should have done something better, man, I'll just focus on that, so but yeah, so
I just love you guys. Okay, so let me get into your relationship a little bit. So tell me the story about how you guys met.
You start it, and I'll pipe in a little bit.
Okay.
Tell me your version.
We met online.
Hinge. 5 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
And it was like in the middle of all the shutdowns. So we spent a few weeks just talking on the phone and FaceTiming, because nothing's open. Nothing is running at this point. So we talked for a few weeks, and then we decided to go on a hike for our first date.
Yep. We got street tacos, sat on the back of my truck after having a hike, and drank a beer.
Yeah, which, like, in hindsight, if any of my friends were like, I'm going on a hike in the woods
with a guy I don't know.
I'd be like, do not do that.
Yeah, but we talked about everything under the sun already at this point, I thought.
Yeah.
And so it was good to finally get together.
Yeah.
And
so were you far away from each other geographically?
No,
okay.
only like 20 minutes from each other.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And
that's
so
good.
she had a dark sense of humor, like the stuff that I would say
you were sold on that, I'm sure.
I mean, I think I was trying to maybe just air it all out, so that way if she wasn't going to like me, then she wasn't going to like me right away. And she just was countered. She was just awesome. But we never really
she could dish it back, huh?
No, we never stopped hanging out after that. I mean, we invited each other to just do anything that we had going on. So that was kind of fun. And then I invited her out to a class, and I remember this distinctly. And you probably don't love talking about this, but I think this is important to talk about. But in law enforcement and military and in any of these agencies, what we find is we have this false sense of confidence because we have a title or a badge or something that we are just good at because, hey, we've trained, right? And sure. I remember Ton showing up to this class.
Well, I did not have this false sense of confidence. I was very humble, and I knew like I maybe shouldn't be in this class because I've just qualled twice a year and I'm like not ready for this. So I show up.
Yeah, but she looks awesome. She's wearing her plate carrier. She's got everything on. She's got her badge on. She looks so cool, right?
Well, no, I didn't, babe. I didn't show up like that.
I know you didn't show up.
I slink in the room.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone's getting their stuff on, so I put my belt on.
Yeah.
And then Tim announces to this class of experienced shooters, amazing shooters.
She's a Fed.
He's like, this is Tonya.
Wow.
She's a federal officer.
Yeah.
She's going to hand you guys your butt tonight.
I don't think I said that, but I
gives me this huge
probably did.
Yeah. And so we are doing the class, and I'm just shooting like just trash.
Hammered dog poop. These 50-year-old women are just handing her butt, and I can see she's frustrated. And so I'm trying to kind of. I thought maybe this was a bad idea, but we'd already started this bad idea, so we just had to roll with it. And at the end, Ton was like, "That was really hard. That was really embarrassing." I guess. I mean, what did you?
Yeah.
What did you take away from that?
That I had a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I mean, these it wasn't really fair because she had jumped into a class where these people are shooting 7,000 rounds together a summer. So they're training every Tuesday out here at the range. And so, I mean, they're doing
he threw you in the deep end, didn't he?
Yeah. So then
That was nice of him.
Yeah, just coming back every Tuesday and just training with everyone. So
instead of like deterring you, it seems like maybe that fueled you to get better.
Yeah, I think that first night I was like, I had like a moment where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make a decision. I can either quit, which I was like, I wanted to so bad, but then I'm like, okay, if I quit, then like Tim's gonna see the side of me that you know what I mean? Right. So then I'm like, I'm gonna push through. So then every week I'm like, all right, I'm gonna come back. And so
and she did. And so just yesterday, I was teaching this class and just cold. I love to do this to her too, because this is so funny because she is so advanced now compared to that day, right? And so we're out on the line and she comes out cold, hasn't shot a single round. I'm like, babe, shoot the 4 staples out of this target. And she's like, okay, cool. And she and does it, right? And I mean, everyone's like, oh, dang, that's awesome, in this class. And then she's like, okay, well, I'm going to go back inside and vacuum or whatever you're doing at the range. And I just thought that's so crazy that this on demand now, this girl can perform. Man,
she's not afraid to work.
You put in a lot of work.
It pays to date a firearm instructor.
It does pay
a
to
good
do
one,
that.
yeah.
But it also opened up, she realized a lot of discrepancies or deficiencies in the training that she was getting just through the agency, right? And so, I mean, and it's weird because she, you know, she's a firearms instructor too on that side of things as well now. And you know, she's always an advocate for training. And would you say that there's some form of resistance to training?
Yeah, there's a huge resistance to it. Just, I mean, everyone is so worried about what could happen if we go the next step, you know, in training, because it's like, man, you don't want to be the agency that fudges something up. So, you know, I'm constantly trying to bring in new ideas. It's sometimes you get a little, sometimes it's a no, but just keep trying. So
there's a lot of red tape, and she said it, you know, you don't want to be the agency that steps out of line and then it bites them in the butt, and then you know, and then they're not able to do anything then at that point. So,
but there's nothing against you individually going and seeking out training on your own, right?
No, nothing against it, not at all.
Yeah.
And we see that more and more, maybe. I mean, not enough, but we have quite a few, you know, when we put on classes, quite a few of that classes, law enforcement and military, that are there for
That's
more
good
stuff. Yeah.
I think you see, like, once someone does it, steps out, and they're like, wow, there's so much more to learn. And then they keep coming back. It's just getting someone, because I mean, then they're investing their own personal time and money.
Right.
When
They've
it's
got more skin in the game, I think.
Right. So then you're like, man, once you start doing it, you're like, oh, this can actually apply to every day of my life, not just necessarily at work.
Right.
So.
Right. Definitely. So, Tim, when you were on the Defenders Uncensored episode recently, you were really honest about your past. And during one of those episodes, you mentioned that in the past you'd hung out with some people who were doing things that maybe now you wouldn't do. But in that time frame, it wasn't that you were encouraged or anything, but that nobody ever said anything to you like, dude, like, what are you doing? That's totally wrong what you're doing, until finally, I forget the person's name, but somebody you really respected came up to you. Okay. And kind of like opened your eyes and was like, what are you doing? And kind of started to change the way you thought about your life. What was that all about? How did that change you, and how has that led you to where you are now? Has that snowballed into good things in your life? Or
yeah, I mean, obviously it's snowballed into really good things.
yeah.
And I tell Ton, you know, if you would have met me even probably 10 years ago, you wouldn't have liked me, you know, or you may have liked me for a moment, but I mean, I was just a wrecking ball, I think, for relationships and for that type of stuff. I was not putting the value in the right place. And when people, you know, they say that you can, you know, what's your legacy? And I think whether I'd said it out loud or not, I think my legacy was going to be that I was a womanizer, and that I really didn't have a lot of integrity, you know, and I didn't have the things that, you know, self-control, those types of things. You know, sure, in my job, I may have had that, but, you know, one of the hardest things that I heard was somebody said, hey, go ask one of the guys if they would trust you alone with their wife. And I was like, of course, all the guys would. And not a single guy would. And I realized at that point that I had built an image that wasn't what I wanted. And, you know, I realized that my friendships and my were much shallower than right. And so I had to fix a lot of stuff on myself. And I had to realize also, you know, I mean, I guess with Ton, I can just say it's weird because all my needs are met as far as being a guy, you know, respect is huge. And Ton goes out of her way to show that. And, you know, she's fun, she's adventurous. So, I mean, she's my best friend. When I think about going on a motorcycle trip, I don't think like, hey, what guys want to go with me? I'm like, hey, babe, get on your bike, let's go. And she's like, yeah, you know, but so all those needs are met. And so I mean, I don't have that wandering eye. I'm not curious how to fill a void that, I mean, it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is that void, I had to go back and get God back in my life to kind of control that void too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was there. There were a bunch of pieces that fit in. And then when I became a leader of teams, then I decided that, hey, listen, we're going to demand integrity instead of make this an acceptable behavior, you know? So it's not something that having integrity is not the anomaly now on a team. It is the standard. And then if you don't have it, then you don't belong here, you know? And so that's been really good. And, you know, that way all the wives can hang out and they, you know, there's nobody keeping secrets, hiding phones, doing weird crap that used to be the thing, you know?
Well, I appreciate your honesty about that. I don't know if you guys ever saw the Eddie Penny interview on the Sean Ryan show. Are you familiar with who Eddie Penny is? He's a Navy SEAL, and there's all the acronyms. I can't remember what they are, but like top tier. Anyway, he talks about a similar experience, except he went into such depth about it. Like his vulnerability was insane. The dude was bawling on the show, talking about how he completely destroyed his family while he was on the teams. And all he cared about was himself because his entire life was his job. Did you lose your ring?
I did.
Uh-oh.
Well, when he works outside, it's a silicone ring, so he works outside and gets
Oh.
crash on it.
No,
Uh-oh.
I didn't take it off. I went on the rope swing today and I lost it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, okay, Eddie
I can
Penny.
get it replaced.
Eddie Penny, I'll get another one. I've got other
Squirrel.
ones. Yeah.
Okay.
But so he's talking about the vulnerability.
No, he wasn't talking about vulnerability. He was just being vulnerable. I mean, he was talking about the stuff that he had done and seen overseas and how he had a completely selfish perspective about his job. He took his job to be the most important thing in his life, which makes sense how that could happen, right? Because those guys live and breathe that stuff, right? That's not uncommon at all. And how he just completely his life at home imploded, and not just once but multiple times. You know, he had multiple marriages and his kids suffered for it, and his testimony is just profound.
I would definitely say that one of the things that is helping our relationship is just having God in it. You know, we go to church and we talk about God and we pray at night and we do the things that that I think had always been missing for me in the past. And, you know, it's not forced. It's not something that I'm like, hey, I think you need to do this. We both.
It doesn't work that way, does it?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You know, she's not at church saying, oh, Tim, that you really needed to hear this sermon, you know, so it's pretty awesome. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely true.
Yeah, and I know that plays a different role in different people's lives, and we're all on a journey, right, and/or a spectrum of where we are on that path. And but I do find it refreshing that at least on past episodes, we've talked about the state of the country and all the things that are happening and all of that. You know, it all ends up going back to the Bible in some way, shape, or form, and I think that's really interesting. So that's part of why I brought that up.
Yeah.
So,
you know, oh, sorry, go.
No, if you've got more, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you know, Ton said something really interesting today on the phone when we were talking. What were you talking about, babe? The thing that you'd heard?
In our relationship, we're pretty old school. Like, you know, Tim's the head of the household. Tim follows God and I follow Tim. And that's essentially the reason. And I saw this video, this gal was talking to her pastor and she's like, you know, me and my husband keep fighting and I need to figure it out. And what's wrong with him? Why do we keep fighting? And he's like, well, why are you fighting with your husband? Why are you questioning like his decisions, you know? And it's like, he's like, you know, I hate using this, but it holds true. You know, he's like, if your boss was telling you something and you thought it was wrong, you wouldn't sit there and argue with your boss. You would just do what your boss says. And I'm not saying
that's a respect thing.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not, and we talked about this. I'm like, you know, I don't see you as my boss, but I see you as like, I respect your decision we can talk about it and I can voice my opinion, but ultimately I trust you to make the best decision. And I think that's why, you know, we have God in our relationship, but it's just like, we don't argue about big stuff, you know, because it's just not an option.
Yeah, I don't think we argue much. And I know we don't argue much, but I didn't realize why, you know. Here, I think it's me being this great guy, and it really but what it is it's somebody choosing not to battle everything, just choosing to trust my decisions. And I think that's awesome. And again, that probably explains why I feel so respected in the relationship. It's respect I may not deserve, but ultimately, if I make a crappy choice, then that's on me, and I'll fix it for our family. You know what I mean? And so, and so far, I mean, I don't know. I've made a few probably crappy choices, but we've been nothing major. Yeah. That's how we're still on in here. And you know what else is nuts is that so I bought this watch because I was tired of Apple. And so I buy this watch, and it tells me everything about me, right? It tells me my stress levels, you know, it tells me my heart rate variances. I mean, it tells me everything, right? And everything's out of 100. And guess what my stress levels are? They're embarrassingly low. 18. 18 out of 100 is my stress level. I have no stress in my life. And I know this. Like I realize I have no stress, but my watch has reminded me that I have such a good life. Like I don't know. I walk to work.
It hasn't always been this way, right? I mean, have you always been like that?
I've had an extremely stressful life, but the last 3 years have been amazing. And I don't feel like the last week was any different than 3 years ago when I met you. But what I realize is that I am at such a cool place in my life that there really is. I'm not kidding. I could show you on my watch if I knew how to get to the screen.
Crazy. I guarantee mine would not say 18%. It would not.
Really? See, and I know, and I don't know why mine does. Like, I don't know why this thing's not broken.
You know what? I think it's your life experience too. I just talked with somebody else on an interview recently, and they said that I was asking them, like, how are you like so even? Like, I'm like, is this just a face you're putting on? Or are you like this all the time? And he's like, no, I'm like this most of the time. He goes, you know, I've just lived in third world countries. I have lived in places where people are going through things that us first world country people just have no concept of. And he's like, I just keep my life in perspective because I've lived those experiences. And maybe that could be part of it too for you, JT. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think your stress level is, babe? I know it's more than mine.
I feel like it's just ebbs and flows. I don't know. If I'm extremely busy at work, I don't know.
Yeah.
You need a watch.
Yeah, I do. I need to wear his watch. What unit of measurement is it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand how they measure that.
I think it's your heart rate levels. I think it's how much sleep you're getting, and I don't know. It's something so much smarter than me, but I think it's accurate, you know. And part of me feels guilty because Ton, I do feel like works much harder than I do. I have very much a bro job, you know. I'm always hanging out with the boys. I'm always, you know. I don't have to do the crazy amounts of work that Ton does, you know. And my work is like setting up targets or, you know.
That's tough.
Yeah. You know,
well, that's good. I'm glad that you're not living completely stressed out. You know what that means now? You're going to live longer.
Right.
You're adding days to your life.
I am.
Adding days to your life.
According to my watch. Is good. Yeah.
So speaking of the business, let's go into that before we wrap up here. Okay. First question seems dumb. I have always wanted to know, what does Rev-Tac mean and where on earth did that name come from?
Oh, Lord. Probably a few beers in and not a lot of thought. I started Rev-Tac with my best buddy, Johnny Murad. And unfortunately, businesses don't work well together. They say that's the only ship that won't float is a business relationship or something like that. But
with your friends, you mean?
Yeah. You know,
okay.
And we just had different views. You know, he just wanted to drink beer and make a little money on a weekend. And I was like, I want to retire and do this, and have this support my family. And he didn't like that. So we ended up moving away from that. But we had beers one night. I'm pretty sure there was a fire involved, and we were coming up with kind of a cool name. And, I'm on the tact, like we're going to be training special operations, every day they're going to beat down our door for this and, whatever. And he is the complete opposite. He's like, listen, soccer moms are going to pay our bills. And he was right, but so the original name was Revolution Tactical, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Revolution Tactical. We both love this country, and so 1776, everything, but then we realized that didn't pull very well with soccer moms, and soccer moms were who was paying our bills, So then we just shortened it up to Rev-Tac, and it's
okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And you guys are in eastern Nebraska? Central?
Yeah, northeast Nebraska. We're right on the border of South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, and Nebraska. Yeah. And so we have a big range here, and then we teach all over the country. So we're thankful for that. I mean, that's honestly how we vacation is to, we're going to be teaching a class down at Complete Combatants in Georgia here.
Oh, cool.
October,
yeah. And so we get to go to Georgia, and we decided to go when it wasn't super hot out. So
smart.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so that was in 2015? Or when did you start?
Oh, no, we started in 2010, maybe, right around there. If you're the IRS or not, don't go digging. But and then in 2015, so the first 5 years was terrible. Terrible for me because I was doing all the work and John was getting half the pay. And what ended up, and that was okay. But what was happening is, we would borrow land from a pig farmer, and nice guy. I owe him a lot for getting our business off the feet. But can you imagine, 5 doctors' wives standing next to a pile of dead pigs?
Pig farms are pretty.
Yeah. So it was terrible. And that was a real experience. That was a real thing. Why does it smell so bad? And he had dumped pigs, or somebody had dumped dead pigs right next to where we were supposed to be shooting. So, it was terrible. And so in 2015 is when we bought this place as our for,
And it's kind of a playground, isn't it? Describe all of the stuff you've got going on there. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's down in this little cove of trees. So from the road in the summertime, you can't see this place, but you drive down. Our house is up on the hill, and then the range is down. And so there's 2 pistol pits and a long range, but then there's, you go around the corner, and then there's axe throwing, a 3D archery range, and then we have this huge pond that's like 22 feet deep with a huge rope swing.
Waterfall, cabin on it. It's 3 RV hookups.
Yep.
Obstacle course. We have a military grade obstacle course that runs the
perimeter. That is cool.
Property.
Yeah. There's little workouts, like pull-up bars throughout the place. It's just like, guys will just come out here and a lot of people that come out here that are range members, they'll just come out and go swimming and,
there's that's beach that kids will swim. Water slide. There's a water slide with.
It is fun. I taught a class Saturday, and it was 95 degrees. So after we're done shooting, I was like, who wants to jump in the pond? I'm going to go jump in the pond. And then they all come out and jump in the pond. And
Did you stock it with fish?
Yes.
You did?
Cool. Yeah, we want to do a kids fishing tournament here at some point. I don't know how. I can barely catch fish, so I don't think I'm in my pond. I've caught, I don't want to brag, probably 5 fish this year. I've only tried every day for about 2 hours a day. But it's there's big bass in there, and there's lots of little crappies and all sorts of different stuff. So that's
cool. So let's we're on the downhill slide here of the interview, so let's wrap it up. I have a couple of semi-deep questions to end with. But before we do that, tell us about your plans for the future. What events are coming up? How can people find you and your coffee company? I want to hear about that too.
Go, babe. What's your plan for the future?
I don't know, like long-term future plans. I mean, right now we're kind of like a weird transition to traveling and doing more seminars and teaching like mid-range courses around. So coming up, I mean, in October we have our national sniper competition out here.
International now, because we've got some Brits coming.
We have a team from Britain coming. So
Cool.
that's the first weekend in October, but it's open to spectators to come out. So yeah, come like just check out this place and hang out with a bunch of snipers. That's really fun. Yeah.
And then I mean, one of the other cool parts of that is that is one of the only sniper competitions where you spend a lot of time with the snipers, but in the stages, Laura, it's designed around the spectator and not so much the sniper. So the sniper may be stalking to his hide, and he's stalking. He's in his ghillie, and he's low crawling right next to where you're watching these guys. So you're right 2 feet from where these guys are hiding, and trying to not be detected from. So it brings a whole new dynamic, and there's
that sounds like fun.
Guys shooting, and we bring in our special operation buggies and do all sorts of cool stuff. Polaris is awesome about sending us great buggies to beat on, and that's a fun event.
A fun event, yeah. But we're like, we love to travel, so we've I took a force science course to be an instructor through them, but so we do a ton of like de-escalation seminars, active killer seminars. We love to educate people outside of, just firearms your only tool. We love to talk about like verbal judo and like pre-threat indicators. That's stuff we're really passionate about lately.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we still love shooting. That's always fun.
That's your whole left of bang passion there that you were talking about earlier.
Bang, recognizing why a situation is weird, and then getting out of there before you have to figure out what to do.
That's ideal. That's the ideal scenario.
Well, and we start almost every class with this, whether it's gunfighting or concealed carry, we just say, hey, listen, our prayer for you is that you never have to use these skills, but that you have these skills. The Bible says, hey, listen, if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and get one, and I think that is just telling people like, hey, you've got to be prepared, but you don't have to go swinging this thing for no reason. Just be prepared to defend yourself. We have an obligation to do that.
And then what about the coffee company? That's kind of recent, isn't it?
Yeah. You go, baby.
Yeah, it's pretty recent. So we also have a nonprofit for combat vets. And so we started looking into something we could kind of just do like a side gig, if you will, to just kind of raise money for that. So there's a coffee company. What are they called? Like not a brewer, but
the micro roaster, like a craft roasting.
So it's like a big wholesaler. They do it, or it's all organic. It's locally made in Sioux City, Iowa. They make our coffee for us, and then we have our coffee label on there, and then the proceeds go to our nonprofit. So, and the coffee
is something that we worked a lot on refining the taste. You go in and you do this, they call it cupping, where you try to figure out what notes, what you want your coffee to taste like. And surprisingly, I don't like just black, crappy, acidy coffee. I mean,
I don't either.
Right.
Yeah, it was a complicated process, but we nailed down. We have 2 flavors. We have vanilla bean and then vanilla caramel.
Yep. And it's hints of this. It's not overwhelming, but you could drink it black or you could drink it with creamer and you would enjoy both of them, right? Smooth, no acidity, whatever afterwards. Yeah. You've
I can
had it.
attest to that. I have had it, and I drink it every day. I do, and it is very good. Yeah.
And the labels are awesome. Like our labels, one of Tim's old buddies, he's a sniper. He drew the label, the guy on there, but it's this fat, out of shape sniper. So it's meant to be really funny. And then,
well, I think it's meant to represent kind of like just our lives. I'm carrying a gun right now, but I'm looking here like, man, you look kind of floppy on this. But yeah, it's meant to represent, the community of guys who still have skill, but may not still be in their prime,
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. But if you ever get a chance to plug our nonprofit, it's contact-front.org. And, really the whole focus for that is to get guys who are struggling to find their purpose after the uniform to find purpose, right? And to build bridges from just military guys, the military brotherhood, into the community. Because, man, we know so many good guys that have never served a day in uniform that actually have a lot in common with guys who have, right? And so, And if you get a chance to pray, we've got a combat vet coming in this evening at 8:00 that's struggling, and just pray for Joe, and hopefully he gets what he needs out of his time here,
So he's coming to just meet with you guys, or?
He's coming to stay here for a while in the combat cabin, and we just present it. We present it in a way that we say, "Hey, listen, we need help, Joe." And the side of the military really, one of the common themes I think is that these guys are servants. They want to serve their country, they want to save other people, they want to, and so when Joe was struggling, I just said, "Hey, dude, will you come and spend some time with me? I've got a ton of work around here to do. Can you just come down? I'll pay for you to get here." Blah 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 blah. So, and so we have a beautiful cabin right on the pond, literally with the waterfall, 10 foot from its back door. And he's a handyman, so I'm coming up with projects around here for us to do. We're going to build a reflection pond down by the by the waterfall base. And
you're always building new things there, aren't you?
Yeah, but it's not necessarily out of necessity. It's like, hey, we need something to do while we talk. That's kind of the therapy part of this.
Sure,
we're not sitting on a couch and white walls and being like, "What's wrong with you?" We kind of get to air it out while we sweat. Yeah.
That's awesome. You guys are doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, last two questions of the night.
Let's get deep.
And they're not that deep, but they could go deep, I guess, if you want them to. What do you know now that you wish you'd known sooner? And this can be anything, life, relationships, or business.
Ooh, baby, hit me with that.
Oh,
I bet you she wishes she knew that I snored when. Really, what do you think now that you?
I guess I don't you grow up. I always knew if it doesn't matter in 5 minutes, it's not going to matter 5 years. Stuff
That's good.
If you're gonna, I guess for me, it's I always used to really worry about stuff and think ahead and worry, what if this happens? What it's man, if you're gonna think ahead about something, why don't you just envision good things instead of bad things? Because truly, your attitude really makes the path for your life. So just always tell yourself what you're thankful for, not what you're not thankful for.
Live in gratitude. Yeah, that's super powerful. Gratitude is huge.
Yeah.
And I think I would just say that I saw somebody quote it and it really hit home. They said the only person that's going to remember your late nights at the office, and all your emails and all this stuff is your family, the people that you neglected while you were, and so just to my guys in uniform, just know that the uniform will take, it'll take everything you'll give it, and then when you're done, it's just okay, peace. It's not, you don't get this great parade at the end of this. So I think what's important is to realize who you should be investing in. That's your family, and that's yourself. And so still you need to sacrifice for this country, but ultimately make sure that you're balancing that with your family. And I think you'll find a lot more fulfillment with taking care of the people that you love, So.
Yeah, because once that career is over, that's what is still there waiting for you.
Hopefully. Yeah, and a lot of times that they're not waiting for you, and that's kind of something one of the guys recently said is he's like, I kept thinking, well, I'll, my kids are too young to remember if I was there or not, type of deal. And by the time he was there, they had their own lives, and why would you choose me, or, why would I choose you, Dad? Now you didn't choose me for the last 15 years, now I have my friends and I have a job and I have, other stuff going on. Why do you think I would choose to spend time with you? And you can't expect that.
That would be heartbreaking.
But, man, all we can do is learn lessons from guys who have had their hearts broken, and that's probably one of the biggest things I would say is, man, just invest in the people who are investing back in you. And that's not normally your job.
Okay, last question of the night. What is your biggest hope for the future, and what is your biggest concern for the future?
Ooh, well, my biggest hope for the future in my end, from kind of my conspiracy theory brain, is that ultimately we're going to have to rely on God, but we need to get election integrity back. I think as long as you can do weird stuff with elections, and it's been proven. You watch 2000 Mules, you watch any of this stuff, on it, and you can literally see. And all I want is consequences for. Yeah. I would like people who are breaking the laws, whether it's perjury, or lying under oath, or whether it's actual tampering with evidence or anything like that. I would hope that those people would be held accountable. So that's what I'd like to see. What about you, babe?
Well, maybe going off that, I would like to see society kind of leaning more on God, people maybe extending more grace, people being more understanding, just in every realm,
What do you mean more understanding? Like more tolerant of other people's beliefs, or what are you saying?
Well, yeah, both sides, both sides. Instead of just like putting up walls as soon as someone doesn't agree with you. Either way, I think it's pretty unacceptable,
No matter what side of the aisle. Yeah, we are not able to just have discussions anymore. That's one thing that I would say that's changed in probably the last 5 years, is that you could be friends with anyone and they may have just different opinions from you. And now it's almost like if they have a differing opinion from you can't be their friend. And it's I don't see that as much on our end. We'll be friends with anyone, but
yeah, I would just say my hope for the future would just be, that kind of gets less,
It's less
polarized stuff.
Oh, yeah, maybe, we're not, the sides aren't pitted against each other as much.
Yeah.
Maybe we realize that we're all trying to just fight for the same thing.
Yeah, there's a lot more common ground, I think, than people realize.
Yeah, everyone can just choose to be kind.
All right, guys. So tell me, what did you think of the interview with JT and Tonya? Tell me in the comments what you thought of that interview. And if you're interested in seeing more of JT, he has been on the Defenders Uncensored series multiple times on locals.com. Huge thank you to all the people who support that channel, paid supporters for the Defenders Live community on locals.com. We now have 5 episodes of Defenders Uncensored on that channel. talking about current events and some topics that some people would consider controversial, but we don't really think should be. And the reason why we chose locals.com as our platform for that is because we won't be getting kicked off like we may on some other channels. So if you want to go check that out, you can go to locals.com, go to the Discover tab, and search up Defenders Live. And that's where you can find the Defenders Uncensored series, some of which have JT on them. And what to expect for next week, we are going to have the great Brian Hill back on the show from The Complete Combatant. And you can expect that show will be uniquely insightful and educational, as only Brian Hill can deliver. If you have any topics that you'd like us to cover, or if you have any questions that you would like to ask Brian about firearms or fitness, or just life in general, you can email those questions to Laura at defenders-usa.com. I always want to hear from you guys if you have suggestions or things that you would like to talk about or hear about. I'd really love to hear from you guys on that. So Brian Hill will be on next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Looking forward to that interview as well. Until then, take care.